So I guess we're a run team, a run team with a good defense. And that's who the Kansas City Chiefs are. And that's how they're going to win this season.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. A special guest, a recurring guest joining us now as we're talking about, whenever we seem to talk about the Chiefs, we always bring Hayley on. She has great insight, great energy. Everybody seems to love you. So host, freelance at ESPN right now, as well as working at the KC Sports Network if you want to see any of her stuff. But Hayley, thanks again. I think you've been on this channel more than anybody else. I think you're the number one guest.
I appreciate it. I mean, hey, I'm talking Chiefs love all day, and yet the Bills fans give me love. Like, I love Bills week. It's one of my favorite weeks. Get to see you guys in town, and it's always a fun time.
I appreciate it. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll put all of Hayley's information as well up there in the description below. Hayley, we usually talk right away about the offense. And for the first time in a while, I feel like we're talking about the Chiefs offense not being right. Is that what it feels like? Or what's the vibe in Kansas City about their offensive struggles?
It depends on who you ask, right? Because half the people in Kansas City, if you say anything bad about the offense, they're like, how dare you? You got so many Super Bowls. You got so many AFC titles. You have the division, the West, and like they'll go on and on and on and just jump down your throat immediately if you want to criticize what's going on, just with Mahomes, the wide receivers. We could make a list, yada, yada, yada. If you say any type of thing about a down year, they will jump down your throat. But the thing is, since Mahomes took over as a starter, the Chiefs are expected at a different level to be able to compete, and the offense has never really seen a lull like it has, dare I say, a lull this season. So yeah, you see the other half of it where people are like, hey, we're not being the silver spoon kid with, the spoon in their mouth saying, oh, I want more. We're so spoiled in Kansas City. I understand that, but when Mahomes can perform at a certain level that he is known to perform at, and when he usually does with a good supporting cast around him, you get upset because you don't want to see a talent like that be wasted at all. Now, has he been wasted? No. But people are freaking out if you say that he's going to be wasted because they have to give him, more support, more help. So it's hit or miss. People are not panicking, but know that there needs to be an answer, and an answer fast, if they want to continue to see what they believe is a dynasty being built in Kansas City.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too, because it was kind of like what it was in Buffalo early on this year, with the goalposts have been moved so much between these two offenses and these franchises of what they have done over the last few years, that even if winning isn't good enough sometimes, especially amongst the fan base, where you have to win at a certain standard because the goalposts have been moved back, which is tough. But does the offense from us, I've just watched them on their national TV games and on Sunday night and things like that. Does the offense feel as off to you as it does maybe to the national media?
I think it feels as off to me and people who report on the team so closely, because what the team's capable of. The type of talent they have, the coaching staff that they have. And because for some reason, and we'll get into those reasons, things are not clicking in Kansas City right now. And I think that absolutely people here who are closely working with the team see that and acknowledge that, and also know that it is such a small fix, because we've seen little sparks of it come out. We've seen the offense start to roll, but then they look like they have it together. In the very next game, they look like they're absolutely lost. And now all of a sudden Kansas City is acting like we're this defensive minded team, which we've never talked about in Kansas City before. I mean, I love it. I love the fact that the defense is stepping up big, but yeah, I would say so. I think that the national TV, it's a storyline. It's something to follow, right? You know this industry. We're in the business. Yeah. Like, when there's a good storyline to follow, they're going to drag it out as long as they can. I mean, I think we finally just now stopped talking about Tyreek Hill in Kansas City. So it's going to be a thing that they talk about for a while, but it's not panic. It's just more of play to the capability that we know you can play to, and figure out what's going on in the wide receiver room, because that can't be an issue that isn't addressed immediately.
That's where I wanted to go next. I do have to talk Travis Kelce. We will talk Swifties in a second, but wide receiving wise, it was always the talk that, you and I, Hayley, could catch passes from Patrick Mahomes, and that no matter what it was, they'd be fine. It doesn't seem like the case. And I tweeted last week, they're bad. The wide receiving room is poor. And I've been critical of the Bills wide receiving room, but because after Stephon Diggs, it just seems like there's a drop off. But Kansas City, I mean, Patrick Mahomes has done such a phenomenal job of not throwing his teammates under the bus, but it seems like the wide receivers have let him down so far this year, correct?
I mean, I think that's an understatement, honestly, if you look at who they have in that room, and also the fact that 2 back-to-back years they lose their top wide receiver, right? It goes Tyreek Hill, then it goes Juju Smith-Schuster. But you also, yeah, it's a young wide receiving core. You know, you have some rookies, you have some people who are just in their second year, but you got a player like MVS who is a veteran player who is taking the biggest salary out of that entire room. I think it's 8.2 million, and I'll have to double check that, but correct me if I'm wrong. Taking that much money out of that room and not being able as an NFL player to catch the ball when it hits both your hands. It's almost as if Patrick Mahomes is going to have to start shoving these balls, throwing them as hard as Josh Allen does, honestly, just so it gets stuck in their face mask and they can't get rid of the ball. Because if you're an NFL player, if the ball hits one of your hands,
Yeah.
you should be able to catch it. So what the issue is, and then we also understand that as we've seen many times in the NFL, when a player maybe gets off, it is so mental, you know, that all eyes are on you. You know, the second you open social media, they're going to be tearing you apart. And I hate to say it, they see things like this as well too, where it makes them feel down and they need to find a way to snap out of it. Well, Mahomes and Reed are really good about feeding that player the ball the very next outing. And for some reason, it just has not worked chemistry-wise and connection-wise with the wide receivers that they have. We see the flashes out of Rashee Rice, but he's a young guy. And just, you know, all last week, we only saw bubble screens basically come out of him. So I don't know if it's because he isn't capable. And these are the things we'll never know because Coach Reed is never going to tell us these things.
Right.
I don't know if he's not capable of taking on more of the intricacies of the offense, or if they just need a veteran wide receiver to come in that room who has better chemistry with Mahomes, because I don't know what's going on with him and MVS, but the connection is not there like it needs to be there. So I guess we're a run team, you know, a run team with a good defense, and that's who the Kansas City Chiefs are, and that's how they're going to win this season.
That's what it felt like for the Bills a little bit when Josh had his struggles before they changed from Ken Dorsey. It's like, they're going to be a running the ball team. And I was like, that's
okay.
cool. I guess like it's not really why your team is built around it, but
Right.
you know, got to move on. I want to talk about Travis Kelce because for as critical as we can be of the wide receivers, is it fair to be critical of Travis Kelce because he hasn't seemed to be this type of player? Because like you talked about, it's funny you said last year that Juju Smith-Schuster was their best wide receiver, and I went like, whoa. Yeah, and they won a Super Bowl. They won a Super Bowl with their best wide receiver being Juju Smith-Schuster because they had the luxury of Travis Kelce, who, for whatever reason, every week we talk to Sean McDermott before the Chiefs, and we're like, how do you stop him? And he's like, I don't know. Like, is there something different with Kelce right now or this season that is stopping him from being the all-pro, all-world greatest tight end of all time?
I think people are obviously going to allude to the outside activities, the extracurricular activities going on right now. You know, I wouldn't say that that's it. I would say more, and I'm sure that he would even be able to admit this himself. The man's getting older. You know, he's not as quick as he once was. His body doesn't react as it once did. Now, that's not to say that that's the reason all this is happening. He's constantly the only player being double teamed every single play, and it just doesn't seem to hit his stride this season. And maybe this is, I hate to say it, the last season we see of Travis Kelce, and you hate to see it wasted the way in which it has been because of the production and the it just hasn't all come together. And I wish I had better verbiage to give you, but that's really the only thing that people in Kansas City can come up with is it's just not connecting. So I don't think it has to do with the fact that he is dating a super world famous artist. I think if anything that makes him play better, as we usually have seen, except for this last game, which was an outlier. But you know, I think it's just the fact that he's not 23, 24, 25 anymore. And as we see the amount of reps and hits and the body, what it has to go through and take, it could just be wear and tear. Also, he has no one else to help him. No one else to bring any type of relief. And you can't just put the entire offense, especially the Kansas City offense, on the shoulders of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and expect them to just be anything and everything for this entire team.
There are a few players in NFL history that I feel like have broken our brains, and like Tom Brady playing to the age and at the level he played with, we just assume that like everybody can play till they're 40 and be like Pro Bowl caliber. And like you make a really good point. it's wear and tear. Like there's how much tread is left on the tires of Travis Kelce. I think it's a fair assumption when on top of, like you said, having him to do everything else.
Yeah.
And what is the vibe in Kansas City with the Swifties? Like, is it still being embraced? Is it, we love the fact that Taylor is, wearing Chief stuff. Like, is it that, or is it becoming a little bit of like, all right, let's play football? Like, where's that fine line?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. As a female, I'm not a Swiftie. I'm not a Beyonce Beehive. That was never really my thing. I can respect the hell out of her for being a phenomenal entrepreneur and to do what she does. It's phenomenal. But I love, as a girl, seeing more women involved in the NFL. I love the fact that it's pulling in this new fan base. Do Swifties probably annoy a lot of NFL fans? Sure. But for me, I'm like, hey, if there's more women out there who now see the game because of Taylor Swift, and now they're interested in what it means, what it is, and they're wearing and repping Kansas City, by all means, please continue. So that's my selfish, point for it. Of course, I hope that they need to break up because then they will hate the Chiefs, and I do not want the Swifties coming after the Chiefs. So hopefully Travis continues to treat her amazing and they stay together. I think for a lot of people who are just simply fans of the NFL, just fans of the game and not necessarily on the Swiftie bandwagon, they're A, sick of the headline, B, sick of hearing about it, potentially just quote unquote distracting him. And I think that you're right. There is that fine line, right? When you're seen at a different place across the world, and then the night, 2 or 3 nights before you need to be back in Kansas City getting ready for a game. But I also put it this way. I am sure before we knew about Travis Kelce's every freaking daily thing that he did, that those players were having great times, maybe getting wasted and swasted the night before the game and still coming out and putting up a hell of a game. It's just now that there's media attention on it. So I trust that these players know what they're doing and they're going to be ready to play on time. I just think that the whole Travis Kelce thing has more to do with the fact that he has so much on his shoulders and he's also a year older.
Well, I find it so funny. Fans love when their team or their favorite player has a podcast and they're like, this is so great. And then when that player starts to decline, it's like the podcast is distracting them from all this work. It's like they're supposed to be robots that go home, study football, then show up at the building and work. It's like, yeah, they also have lives. They're allowed to have lives. A lot of them don't do football 24/7. So I totally agree with that. To the defensive side, this Chiefs defense seems pretty damn good.
Yeah, this is nice. Like, this is nice. This is a new little thing that we get to talk about. And it's been the silver lining this entire season. You saw a few times on the franchise, which is this little YouTube series that the Chiefs will put out every single week. You see multiple times where Mahomes goes over to the sideline, pulls aside like Chris Jones or something. And he says, all right, I need you guys to get it done for us. Like, I need y'all to do this. And it's because he can depend and trust on them to be able to stop an offense when the Chiefs have not been able to capitalize with their time, or the Chiefs offense hasn't been able to capitalize with their time on the field. Obviously, Chris Jones was essential in Kansas City. He's been phenomenal. Love to see him back. But you've also seen the growth of those players who have been developing in the second year. You see George Karlaftis, Mike Dannon, who's been here for a while, but just now having this breakout season. Of course, it sucks. The Nick Bolton injury has been really, really hard to deal with, but they brought in Drew Tranquill, who was a phenomenal veteran backup, but now he's hurt. So there's going to be a little bit of drama at the Mike position for the linebacker core. Hopefully they can have a decision. Maybe Bolton comes back in time for this Bills game and they're able to, because we know how the Bills can be. Even when the Bills are having an off season, or a down year, whatever you want to call it, the Bills are still the Bills. And when the Bills and the Chiefs play each other, it's going to be the Bills and the Chiefs. And it's always a fun matchup to watch. So the defense is great. I still don't like our defense against Josh Allen, and I never will, because I'm sorry. I know Bills fans, but like, he drives me insane. I hate the way that he can just escape and run down the field like he's Derrick Henry. It just pisses me off. But, I'm prepared for it, and I hope that the Chiefs defense is prepared for it too.
I see Trent McDuffie making plays, and it's just there's a big bunch of
that matchup.
Yeah, PTSD, because the Chiefs move up, make the pick. The Bills then move up after, take Kyer Elam, who has been a disaster of a bust. I was in Vegas for that draft. So it's just kind of crazy when I start to see him blitzing, making plays in the Eagles game. And it's like, damn, that is a young stud. And this, like you said, it's a bunch of pieces. And with the Chiefs dynasty, I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but the Patriots had their dynasty. They evolved over years. Like, it wasn't always Brady having this amazing offense. There was years where the defense carried them and they were sufficient offensively. And it's just like, I guess that is, for as much as we can sit here, we talked for 15 minutes about how much the offense sucks and how it doesn't feel right. And Travis Kelce's old and all these things. I still just feel like when I close my eyes in January, I'm going to see Patrick Mahomes playing in an AFC championship game going like, oh yeah, like this is what happens. Is that still the expectation in Kansas City, despite some of these struggles, despite everything that we've talked about? Is the expectation still like, hey, we're supposed to win a damn Super Bowl because we're the Kansas City Chiefs?
I think so. I think so, especially with what they've been able to produce in the past 5-6 seasons. I think that that's the expectation. It also is a very spoiled expectation, right? We talked about that a little bit earlier. You can't expect the dynasty to continue to just be this phenomenal. I mean, you even saw Tom Brady take such a long time away from ever going back to a Super Bowl and then, right back on it and continued success. I think with the Chiefs and the fan base here, they're still new to success, and myself included in that, and learning, okay, is this enough? Is an AFC title game appearance enough? Is going, locking up the division again enough? And I don't think it is enough in their mindset right now. So are those expectations that need to be probably adjusted? For sure. But hey, I mean, if this is a team that can consistently find ways to win, even when it's not pretty, then maybe that's their new brand identity. It's not always going to be flashy Mahomes magic. Maybe it's just a year where they keep their head above water and they do so more than other teams enough to where they end up in those positions.
Yeah, it's annoying. And it's funny. When we usually talk, it's usually before a big playoff game, or it's usually at some point in the season, and we're talking about, hey, who gets the 1 seed? That's not the case in this matchup. You're getting a Kansas City team coming off of a loss, and you're getting a Bills team that is fighting for their playoff lives. Are the Chiefs around Kansas City? I guess that's what I'm always trying to phrase this as, because the team will always tell us what the team tells us. We both know how that works. But when you hear, like, what's your social media like when it's the sense of like, hey, do the Chiefs feel as desperate as the Bills are? Because the Bills feel like, in my opinion, their season is on the line Sunday in Kansas City. And for everybody that's like, oh my gosh, that's so terrifying. The Bills have shown they can go into Kansas City in the regular season and win. They've done it the last 2 years. I was there. So, like, do the Chiefs feel as desperate to get back to the number 1 seed, or is it just, hey, this is just another week for them?
I don't think it's another week for them. I wouldn't downgrade it to that, but I wouldn't put it to the level of them being desperate, panicking, freaking out. I think when the Bills and Chiefs always come together, it's always going to be a phenomenal game. These two teams play each other very well. It's great football to watch. I mean, we've been there many times to see it. It goes one way or the other. And then as of recent years, it's just gone in the way of the Chiefs' favor when it mattered most, right? Because the Bills have definitely put it over on the Chiefs before. And I know that this is not a lighthearted game on their schedule, especially since what they've been struggling with. But I wouldn't say that they're as panicked as the Bills are. And it's funny you mentioned that, because we were talking about this on the podcast the other day, just the fact that we have very lightly touched on the Bills and the Bengals this season throughout our podcast, when all of last year and the year before that, all we could talk about was Bengals and Bills week and how terrified fan bases were going into that one, knowing that everything would be on the line, and it just hasn't been that way. Now, does that make me feel better as a Kansas City fan, knowing that the Bills have played down this year, that the Bengals have played down this year? Hell yeah. But I think that this one is still a really, they'll never admit it, but this one has been circled on the calendar for a long time, no matter how the Bills are playing throughout the season. It's going to be the two teams that always play each other really well. And we talked about rivalry last year. I don't think that feeling has gone away just because maybe Josh Allen hasn't been up to his standards per usual.
Perfect segue, because that was where I was going to go. It just, I'm sure this was circled on the calendar. It's just, I don't think we expected it to be an 8-4 and a 6-6 team meeting in Kansas City. That's what's so weird about this. And like I said, I thought the Bills caught the Eagles at a perfect spot, because it was off that such an emotional game against Kansas City, looking ahead at the Niners, and they had that game. And for, as we've talked on our podcast about coaching, and everybody wants Sean McDermott fired here in Buffalo and all of these things, the kid makes a 59-yarder in that kind of crappy weather. You just tip your cap. However that works out. For you, how do you see this game? Like, what is to you the X factor in your, I always love to ask you, like, what's your prediction for the game? X factor and prediction.
Oh, it's always the bad games where the Chiefs come back, and they usually bounce back and have a really good game. So I feel like the Chiefs are gonna be firing on all cylinders. I think that this is gonna be a game where they get their ego back, but I don't think it's gonna be easy. Say the Chiefs go up 2 touchdowns, I still feel like this one goes down to the wire in the 4th quarter, and as we know, it hasn't been that way or hasn't been this way this season. Like, you give, "Oh, they have 60 seconds left. Oh, they have 30 seconds, 13 seconds," right? You know that the
Whoa,
Bills
whoa, 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 easy there.
get it done. So
Easy.
I feel like this one will be one where the Chiefs jump ahead, but the Bills make it close in the end because these two teams play each other so well. And I hope to God the Chiefs can close it out. They usually do so again after a bad loss, but I definitely see this one. It's not going to be the normal shootout that we're used to between Mahomes and Josh Allen. Like, those are the fun games we're used to watching. I don't know if I see that as much this year. And hey, if this is going to be stopping the run, well, I don't like that. I don't like those odds.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how it pans out because the Chiefs obviously struggle against the run, and that's going to be something that they've been beat up with from the Eagles, and hopefully they can be able to defend it against the Bills.
Yeah, I don't know. And like I said, we're recording this on Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah. There's a lot of injuries to come out too.
There's injuries to come out, and where this team's head is with the Von Miller situation, we hope to find more clarity by any means on Wednesday. I looked into that bye week, and I thought it was a perfect bye, especially the way the offense has looked the last 2 weeks against the Jets, as well against the Eagles, where I was like, I'm pretty confident this team can go 4-1 to make the playoffs. It's a tough schedule. Their next two, obviously, at Kansas City, then they host Dallas.
Yeah.
But I don't know where this team's head will be figuring out what is going on with the Von Miller situation. We hope to find that out more. We'll have more coverage. Jenna and I will be up at practice tomorrow. We'll have a recap for you here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. And then Jenna and Mike will be going to Kansas City to see you, Hayley, at the game on Sunday. We'll have all the coverage from there. Hayley, thanks so much again. I appreciate you taking some time. It's always a blast catching up with you. And it's just, we got to get you a t-shirt because like you're the biggest recurring guest here on Buffalo Plus.
Hey, I would rep a Buffalo Plus on the show.
I appreciate it. At least a hat. We got to get you like a hat or something. That's what we'll work on doing.
Hey, well, man, I hope that we are talking again. I don't know if it's plausible, but maybe we're talking again later this season.
I was thinking about it. The Bills as a 7 seed going to Kansas City could be fun. Who depending on who takes the 1 seed, we'll have to wait and see. But we'll see. And do we know if Taylor's going to be at the game Sunday? Do we have any confirmation?
I have not heard anything yet, but usually Wednesday, Thursday is when the creepers are figuring out the plane flight numbers flying in. So I'll keep you updated.
I appreciate that, Hayley, as always. Thanks again. I'll put all of her stuff there. But again, check out the KC Sports Network for all of Hayley's stuff, as well as on ESPN and ESPN Plus. Hayley, thanks so much. We'll catch you next time here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel.
Sounds good.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.